Now, as prices plunge, one major house builder has stopped actually building new homes altogether. New starts are at their lowest level for 7 years. Developers are calling on the government to take urgent action. The Sky's Mark Stone reports.
They're still building, but increasingly they're wondering, what's the point? The credit crunch, it seems, has come full circle. It began with mortgages, and now it's affecting the bricks and mortar. The knock-on effect is quite simple. Fewer mortgages mean fewer buyers, and fewer buyers mean fewer houses will be built. That threatens the building industry and does nothing for the wider economy. In the past 3 months alone, orders for new private houses have fallen by more than a quarter. The industry, say analysts, has a problem.
House building industry is in dire straits. All the statistics are heading south. House builders are closing offices, they're cutting jobs. Basically, they're putting the brakes on house building.
Persimmon, one of the country's largest house builders, has put all new projects on hold. It has reported a 24% drop in sales so far this year. Another, Taylor Wimpey, says orders this year are down 26%. Good news, you might say. We don't need more houses. Well, the government thinks we do. And if this gets worse, we'll all suffer.
Not just the builders losing out, but it's the public generally. We shouldn't lose sight of the fact that the private sector, the private builders are providing the bulk of the country's affordable housing and a lot of benefit in terms of local community facilities through planning obligations that they make. So it's not just the builders, it's all of us who are going to lose out if we don't address the situation in the right way.
Within a few months, this shell will be transformed into flats. The idea is they'll be sold to raise funds to regenerate a school below them. If they don't sell, though, then the school and the kids lose out. The government, too, will lose out. It's rushing to meet its targets to build 240,000 new houses this year. That's 80,000 more than last year. Even the optimists say they haven't a chance. So, what's the answer?
Well, the house builders are saying scrap stamp duty, but they've been saying scrap stamp duty all along. I don't think anyone seriously expects the government to do that, and I don't think it resolves the problem. The problem really is to get banks and building societies to start lending again, and that's about easing conditions in the financial markets and the money markets.
Liquidity is what the banks need. Unless they start lending again, there may be no paint on these walls for some time. Mark Stone, Sky News.
Right, here with me to discuss how best to get the housing market moving again is the Guardian journalist Tony Levine. He's just been named Consumer Champion of the Year. Congratulations to you. Also here is Andy Teacher of the British Property Federation. They represent all those involved in property investment, including developers and the banks. Gentlemen, good morning to you both.
Good morning. Good morning.
First question, has the building industry gravy train come to a shuddering halt?
I certainly think so. I think you only have to go to any city centre, whether it's Manchester, Leeds, Sheffield, Birmingham, and huge parts of outer London, and you just see empty flats all over.
Sorry, you can look at the camera if you like.
Right.
I'd rather you looked at me.
Okay, sorry.
Go on, far away.
And you see blocks and blocks of empty flats. Who's going to buy them? I haven't a clue. No one can afford them. They are ludicrously overpriced, and they were built basically to feed the buy-to-let investor boom, which is now crashed. Which has crashed. This week we saw a big company called Inside Track go into administration, which sold these things like there was no tomorrow. There's no tomorrow for the people who bought from them, and a lot of them will lose. A lot of these private amateur investors will lose their own homes as well as the flats they think they bought.
Andy?
I think the important point that Tony made there is that the housing boom we've had in this country has been driven by amateur investors, and that's not to disregard buy-to-let, because it's made an important contribution to...
They thought it was free money.
Yeah, I mean, that's the point, is actually a lot of these investments were made without any foresight of actually where the market was going, and property, like any market, is cyclical, and we're in a downturn at the minute, but that will go back up in years to come. And I think the key thing the British Property Federation has been pressing for is for the government to look at how we can get institutional money in. Because at the minute, you only have to open the paper every day to see the fact that we don't have any more money for buy-to-let investors. They can't get loans, so we're not going to have any new homes built or purchased by these people. And by getting institutions in, and by that we mean people like pension funds, life funds, that are in it for the long game, these people that want to invest for the long term, we can somehow convince these people to put their money into housing by developing property specifically for rental. And the government can do that by reforming planning and by changing some of the rules on stamp duty that are unfair. And if we can do that, and if the government actually takes note of the realities of the market, we can look to actually deliver the affordable housing we need, the quality housing we need, and actually home all the people that need to be.
Tony, how on earth do you convince pension funds to invest money in an industry that's actually heading downwards?
You can't, unless prices fall very dramatically, because simply...
Then they think it's a good investment.
Yeah, simply the numbers do not add up. I mean, I went to something about 2 weeks ago, it was a property investment show in Birmingham, and someone was trying to sell me a flat in Liverpool at 300,000. And with the best will in the world, you'd get about a 2% return on that, where you can get 6% and more if you put your money in the Nationwide Building Society. So why should anyone... The whole thing has been sort of...
I suppose the argument would be, in the long term, property is always...
But nobody can actually afford, in the long term, we're all dead, as somebody once said, and nobody can actually afford to finance these properties on the ludicrous prices.
No.
You can't get the mortgages anyway anymore.
We're running out of time.
Yeah.
Andy, how is the government going to build 3 million homes by 2020, as it's promised?
It needs to reform planning. It needs to actually look at the kind of development taxes that property developers build, and if they reduce the amount of affordable housing requirements for properties, for developments built specifically for rent, we can get the longer term investors in to build more property. And Caroline Flint is actually going to be speaking at the British Property Federation's conference on the 10th of June, and that's where we're going to be delivering this message to her. And hopefully, if the forthcoming review of rental being carried out by Julie Rugg can look at these important points about how we increase supply, we can actually deal with that and deliver the kind of housing that this country needs.
Gentlemen, really sorry, incredibly busy news day, so that's
Thank you.
it for now. But thank you for your thoughts. Cheers.